Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? It's been a little bit. Things have been very busy for me. It is, what is it? It's Thursday, June the 20th, 2024, 8:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a late one tonight. Well, if you're on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, you're just getting off work, you're just having dinner. That's what's happening. Do it again! What's going on? This is episode 267 of Mcrae Live. Rest in peace, Donald Sutherland, ladies and gentlemen, the great Canadian actor, Canadian icon, Canadian legend, father of Kiefer Sutherland, passed away today at the age of 88. Passed away at the age of 88. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hope you're all doing well. I know it's been over a week since I've been on, but things have just been very busy for me. And, you know, the good kind, of course, which is always good. Billy Chapter 2 is taking up a lot of that time. We're like really into it now, into post-production, and things are shaping up. I'm planning on doing a Mcrae Live soon, which is sort of an update on everything. So I will keep you posted on that, but I can certainly say we are probably about 90% through the edit now. That is both picture and sound. Once that is done, then of course it will move over to color and all that kind of stuff. The project file will be shipped off to our color department and get the color on it and get all that working. And then so things are looking good. Things are looking good, and expect an update on the project very soon. So we'll see who rolls on in today. I don't know if anybody gives a shit about this. I'm not talking Halloween, so, but maybe we could find a way to make it Halloween. Maybe Donald Sutherland likes Halloween. There's Donald Pleasance and Donald Sutherland, both actors named Donald. That's kind of Halloween-ish. There you go. Anyway. Yeah, Donald Sutherland passed away. I don't know if it was today, but certainly it was announced today. Sad. I mean, an iconic actor in a number of films, Canadian, which is always cool. And, my grandmother, I remember my grandmother, my dad's mom, told me years ago that she sat on a bus. I don't know where she was going. This must have been in the 60s or the 70s. She sat on a bus next to Kiefer Sutherland. He was only like 15 or 16 years old. And I'll never forget her telling me that. Very cool. But anyways, yes, he has, not Kiefer, his father, Donald, has passed away. And, whenever I think of Donald, well, I'll get into that in a second. Let's jump over to Bloody Disgusting and see what they had to say about it. This comes to us from them. Of course, it was all over the place in Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, you name it. It was all over. After a long battle with illness, it's been announced this afternoon that the legendary Emmy-winning actor Donald Sutherland has passed away in Miami, Florida at the age of 88. Son Kiefer Sutherland writes on Twitter, "With a heavy heart, I tell you that my father, Donald Sutherland, has passed away. I personally think one of the most important actors in the history of film. Never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly, he loved what he did and did what he loved. And one can never ask for more than that. A life well lived. Donald Sutherland made a handful of notable pit stops in the horror genre throughout his multi-decade career on the screen, which kicked off back in the early 1960s. Here in the horror world, Sutherland is known for his roles in Don't Look Now, 1973, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, and most recently, Stephen King's adaptation, Mr. Harrigan's Phone, 2022. Sutherland also starred in films including The Castle of the Living Dead, 1964, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, 1965, The Rosary Murders, 1987, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 1992, Citizen X, 1995, Fallen, 1998, Virus, 1999. I think that's the one with Jamie Lee Curtis. Salem's Lot, 2004, and An American Haunting, 2005. Donald Sutherland won a Primetime Emmy for his role in 1995's Citizen X. Citizen X. His performance landing him the Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Miniseries or a Special honor. He also won a Golden Globe for the same performance and later won his second Golden Globe for 2002's Path to War. Other films and television shows that landed Sutherland nominations at the Golden Globes throughout his career include MASH, the movie, of course we're talking about, not the TV show, Ordinary People, and The Undoing. Sutherland lent his one-of-a-kind gravitas to countless other notable projects throughout his career, including The Dirty Dozen, Clute, The Day of the Locust, The Kentucky Fried Movie, Animal House, Murder by Decree, Backdraft, oh, that's such a great movie, JFK, another great film, 6 Degrees of Separation, Outbreak, A Time to Kill, Space Cowboys, Frankenstein, 2004, and the Hunger Games franchise. Deadline notes this afternoon, Donald Sutherland is survived by his wife, Francine Rochette, sons Roig, Rosif, Angus, and Kiefer, daughter Rachel, and 4 grandchildren. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Sutherland, an iconic actor, was 88 years old. He never got an Oscar, but he did get an honorary Oscar, I believe. I'm really hoping before Harrison Ford passes away that the Academy gives Harrison Ford an honorary Oscar. I know he's got the Lifetime Achievement and the Cecil DeMille Award and the Palme d'Or, whatever it is. He's got so many awards. He's got 1 Oscar nomination for Witness in 1985. I really hope, he's 82 this year. On July the 13th, he's 82. Harrison Ford, I'm talking about, for those of you that just are joining now. I'm really hoping that that the Academy gifts him an honorary Oscar. Because, come on. One of the most iconic, legendary movie stars in the history of cinema. You got to give it to him. Anyway, look, Donald Sutherland is, he's an iconic actor, 88 years old, lived a terrific life. And, it's no secret that one of my favorite horror movies of all time is a horror movie that he starred in, and one that was a remake, but one of the greatest remakes ever, and that is 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That movie, to me, I think, you want to talk about an underrated film. I think it is incredibly underrated, and I still think it holds up today. Now, most people who watch that movie love it, think it's great. But I don't think it gets talked about enough. I don't think it gets enough love. The ending is iconic. The fact that it cuts to black and the credits roll with no sound and no music, it is literally silent, as if somebody took all the faders on the mixing board and just dropped them all down and you're just watching white text go by on screen. It is brilliant. I've done a couple of Mcrae lives, I think, on this channel on it. So you can go back and watch those shows if you want to get sort of my deep dive thoughts on Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But it's a movie that I hold near and dear to my heart. I've always loved it. There is something about that movie that is just so eerie. It's creepy and it's eerie. The lighting, the cinematography, this slow, insidious, but then at the same time sort of pensive, like it's this insidious, monotonous gnawing away at the paranoia that they build throughout that movie. And because it's a 70s film, the film stock and the grain and the way things look and that feeling, oh, it's creepy. Art Hindle, of course, another great Canadian who was in the original Black Christmas. Art Hindle was in that movie. He played Jeffrey. And of course, Jeff Goldblum was in it. Leonard Nimoy was in it. It's such an iconic cast. What's-her-face is in it too, who went on to be in Alien the very next year. Brooke Adams is in it, of course, as well. Just an amazing film. And if you have not seen 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is a remake of the 50s film, I believe. Please go watch it. Please do yourself a favor right now. If you like old school 70s horror films and you have never seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, do yourself a favor when this show is done tonight or tomorrow night, this weekend at some point, rent it, get your hands on it, find it, and watch it. You'll thank me for it. And it's got one of the greatest, most iconic endings in the history of horror, as far as I'm concerned. Just a terrific film. And that shot where, anyways, it's just, I watch my Mcrae lives on it. It's the thumbnail of this video. It's iconic. It comes out of nowhere and it's brilliant. It's such a brilliant film. It really is. It's one of the great remakes of all time. Period. Hands down. End of discussion. I'm not saying it's the greatest. I'm saying it's up there. For me, it would be on like the Mount Rushmore of great remakes. I don't know how many great remakes there are, but it would be up there. Another great film that he did, of course, with Julie Christie was Don't Look Now from 1973, 74. That's a great film as well. Not quite as creepy, I'll say, but creepy in its own right. It's got one of the, hey, if you're really into like, sex scenes, it's got one of the greatest, most prolonged, most, are they actually having sex? It kind of looks like they're actually having sex, but they're not having sex, but it kind of looks like they're having sex scenes of all time. I don't know how long this sex scene is, but it feels like it's 10 minutes. It's probably not. It's probably like 2 minutes, but it feels really long. And it's like borderline softcore porn. So if that's your jam, if that's your thing, then you may want to check it out. But another great film about this couple that loses their daughter in a drowning, and they end up flying to, is it Paris, I think, or England? He's starting a new job. There's these two psychic women that speak to Julie Christie's character, Donald Sutherland's wife, saying, we're talking to your dead daughter. We can tell. He thinks it's bullshit, but then he starts to see somebody in and around. Oh, no, it's Venice. Excuse me. It's Venice. It's not Paris or England. It's Venice. Beautiful city to lay down a horror film in. Again, it's got that 70s vibe, that old school 70s feel and all that. And he thinks he starts to see his daughter, and he's like, what the fuck? Right? You know what I mean? In and around the town, of course, at nighttime, and the river ways and the arches of the architecture, and it's a great moody atmospheric film that is in its own right a classic as well. I prefer Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But certainly that is another one of his that is iconic, and I think that sex scene made it incredibly iconic. So, hey, it is what it is. But another great film. Of course, I think he was also was he not in Puppet Masters as well? I think he was in that one too. Obviously, yeah, I mean, he's one of the greats. I mean, he doesn't get talked about enough because he tended to, he sort of was like that leading man, but at the same time, he wasn't handsome enough to be a full-on leading man like a Ford or a Cruise or a Clint Eastwood or a Clark Gable or something like that. But he was a leading man in some films, but then he kind of became that character actor a bit too, but was more of a supporting prominent character actor. Do you know what I mean? So just sort of, he had a hell of a career. And obviously his son, Kiefer, one of the great actors of his time. And the first time, or the first movie I ever saw Kiefer in, of course, was Stand By Me. That was my introduction to him. But yeah, just a legendary actor, a Canadian actor. And certainly he will be missed. And when I saw that he passed, I was like, shit, but it makes sense. I mean, 88 years old, that's a great life, man. Like I've said many times, it's unlikely it's all going to happen in the same week, but over the next 10 years or so, maybe even 5 years, unfortunately, we're going to start seeing more and more of these legendary actors pass away. When you think about the legends that are currently up there from our generation, if you're over 40, you think of, your Sylvester Stallones, your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, your Steven Spielbergs, your George Lucases, your Martin Scorseses, your, your Harrison Fords, right? Your Donald Sutherlands who just passed. There's so many legends. And I'm talking about bona fide legends. I don't mean somebody who's just popular. I've talked about this before on the channel, but nothing grinds my gears more when somebody tosses legend around like it's a bag of chips. I mean, listen, Jack Black is not a legend, okay? He's popular and he's iconic and he's a great, actor. But I wouldn't classify Jack Black as a legend, and you don't want to bestow that title, too soon either, right? Jack Black, maybe when his career is said and done, will look back and go, no, he's a comedic legend, but right now I think, the jury is still out on that. But we live in a world where, we toss around GOAT, greatest of all time, legend, iconic. We toss it around like it's nobody's business, but I like to reserve it for, true legends of the business, that, are real bona fide legends. And there are a lot of these legend and iconic legendary actors and filmmakers that are well over the age of 70 and a lot of them over the age of 80. And Clint Eastwood, there's another one, right? He's in his 90s. I mean, so it is now, I always joke about this. I say that, Steven Spielberg, I think, is 77 this year, if I'm not mistaken, close to it anyway. But I joke and I say his father lived to like 102 or something like that, and his mother lived to like 97. So, if the genes fit, genes with a G, hopefully we'll have 25 more years of Spielberg movies if his health remains intact. But still, he's up there and he could go at any time. I mean, just because his parents lived to that age doesn't necessarily mean he's going to also live to that age. Although, certainly that's a positive thing that's in his corner. But I mean, there's so many legends that are up there now that are, expect over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to be seeing this kind of thing. And it's sad, but it's true. Times are changing. It's kind of like my parents when, my parents' era, when they're, all the actors that they grew up with, your Jerry Lewis's, and I was going to say Dick Van Dyke, but he's still going. He's 97 or 98. He's still going. He just won an Emmy. Incredible. But it's the reality, right? But anyway, I digress. But rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. Thanks for the great films and the great performances, and obviously two of my favorite horror movies with Don't Look Now and Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. But Invasion, and I like Don't Look Now. Don't get me wrong, I like it, I do. But Invasion of the Body Snatchers is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I don't know if I would put it in a top 5. That might be tricky to get into the top 5 because you think of Halloween and the first Elm Street and, The Others and, Rear Window and, there's so many greats, right? But Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978 is easily a top 10 for me. Easily. Hands down. Easily. And depending on my mood, depending on the day, it might slip into the top 5. It is fantastic. So again, if you have not seen 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, please do yourself a favor and watch it. If you really like that moody, atmospheric, gritty, eerie, claustrophobic, paranoia, old school kind of movies, watch it. You'll thank me for it. All right, folks, let's jump over to the chat room and see what all of you are saying. Hey, yeah, of course, De Niro, Pacino, yes, Brandon Collins, Hoffman, De Niro, Pacino, Maggie Smith, Robert Englund. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Again, like this, that's my point, right? There's so many legends, right? And I like how, Brandon picked legends, not like, yeah, but I mean, geez, I'm trying to think of somebody who's, I don't know. Somebody who's up there is not a legend. Jack Black's not up there though. He's only in his 50s, but yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. People who toss around legend. It's like, no. Just because somebody is popular doesn't make them a legend. Legendary status is usually, it depends on your impact, right? Depends on there's so many things. I know. I feel like I take the fun out of conversations sometimes, but hey, it's who I am, right? I can't partake in that kind of stuff. It just feels so like, yeah, but then if everybody's a legend, nobody's a legend. You know what I mean? Like we have to have criteria. It's got to be criteria here, which is why I disagreed when Britney Spears got her star on the Walk of Fame before Steven Spielberg did. I was like, what? Now, mind you, again, the star on the Walk of Fame is not what you all think it is. It's you're asked if you want one, and if you want one, then, and not saying that Britney Spears doesn't deserve it now, but in 2003, when she got it, I was like, can we, like, I know she's hot right now and she's popular, but let's wait a little bit. Anyway. I digress. A couple super chats came in. Let me get them. We've got super chat from Josh McKenna, sends in $19.99. Thank you, Josh. Very generous. Says, rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. Indeed. I was watching one of his movies this morning called 6 Degrees of Separation. It's a good one. I'm recovering from surgery and I will be out from work for a week, so I had some time to watch it. Amazing. Well, speedy recovery, my friend. Speedy recovery. And then Michael Edwards just gifted 5 memberships. Amazing. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that, Michael. Really appreciate that. Simon Mills sends in a member chat and says, did you see Dr. Terror House of Horror with Donald? Also starring Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. I have not, but wow, what a cast. A horror anthology where Peter Cushing tells each character's future. There's 5 stories. Check it out. I'll definitely have to check it out. Thanks, man. No, I have not. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99 and says, what's really crazy about me watching 6 Degrees of Separation is I watched an hour before I knew he had passed. I didn't even know. I also like him in Hunger Games. Yeah, I know he was in Hunger Games. I haven't seen any of the Hunger Games, but certainly that's where some people might know him from. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Your ears must have been buzzing. Brandon Collins, $2, says, never got an Oscar nom. That's a goddamn crime. Yeah, it's true. I'd have to go back and, really do sort of some investigating to see if it was deserved, but he did get an honorary Oscar. So, that's nice. That's nice. I think Harrison Ford needs one. For sure. Ian Rapesh sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. Watching Don't Look Now tonight. Amazing. Dave, have you seen the viral website called The Birthday Murders for Long Legs yet? Creepy as fuck. I have not seen it, but I will make sure to check it out. Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of the marketing, and it certainly looks pretty cool. Certainly looks pretty cool indeed. Let me see here. Justin Leon says, I literally just randomly watched Body Snatchers yesterday. Crazy when I heard this today. That's awesome. Was that your first time watching it, or had you seen it before? You just were like in the mood to watch it again? That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, it's as I said, it's one of the great horror movies of all time. And like, it is so underrated. It's so underrated. Again, it's not a slasher movie, right? It's an invasion film. But it's so well done. A beautiful slow burn, great score, great performances from Donald Sutherland. I mean, it's a stacked cast. Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum, right? Jeff Goldblum, Art Hindle. I mean, it's a stacked cast. And there's a cool cameo from, I believe, the director of the original film from the 1950s. There's a scene in the 78 film when Brooke Adams and Donald Sutherland, Matthew and fuck, I forget her name, are in his car, and they're driving along the street, and it's just weird. Like, you get this eerie feeling as they're driving along the street. It's just the way it's shot, and the way people are, and the way they look to like cars driving by, and people just staring at them from, you know, buses and cars. It's so fucking great. It's so well done. And then all of a sudden, there's this guy that like runs out onto the street, and he slams his hands down onto their hood, and he says something like, "They're coming! You gotta get out of here! They're coming!" He says something like that, and then he takes off, and he gets hit, I think, by a car or something. That guy, I believe, was the director of the original film from the 50s, either the director or the writer, which I thought was a really, you know, a pretty cool cameo. But yeah, dude, like it's the feeling when you watch this movie. Like, it's not like, you know, it's an overly bloody film, or, you know, it's not that kind of horror movie. It's just the entire film just, you know, you want to talk about mood and atmosphere. The entire film just has, like, the overall film, just the feeling of the movie, even when nothing creepy is happening, even when nothing scary is happening on screen, you feel the dread. You feel just the eeriness. It's just eerie. Have you ever had an eerie, and I know I only speak for myself, but you know, when you know about the film, because people may watch it and be like, I don't know what the fuck Dave's talking about. I get that this is just my opinion, but it is also shared by a lot of people. But have you ever had the feeling where you're, I don't know, like maybe you're home alone, or something happens to you and you just get a weird, eerie feeling? You know, you're just like, I don't know, like you're sitting at home alone and you just suddenly get a weird feeling like something's not right, or something's weird, or it's really strong, right? It really feels, there's a strong feeling, and you're not, so maybe you call your friend, you're like, hey man, just want to call and see if everything's okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Like, you can't quite put your finger on it, but you almost feel like there's something not right. It's a very eerie, and like in the purest definition of the word eerie, it's a very eerie feeling, a very, very eerie feeling. That's kind of how I feel, maybe not to that degree because it is a movie, but that, to me, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it kind of has that aura about the whole movie, just from the beginning of the movie right to the very end of the movie. Like, it's like two people could just be having a conversation and you just feel eerie. Do you know what I mean? That's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. I think it's so incredibly underrated. Incredibly underrated. Chester Franklin Jr. says he was good in Backdraft. He was. Yeah, he was very good in Backdraft, for sure. For sure. Let me see here. Brandon Collins says Stephen King looks pretty frail these days. The accent really looks like it took him some time off the clock. Yeah, he looks, how old is Stephen King now? He does look pretty frail. So does Mark Hamill. I mean, Mark Hamill looks pretty frail too. He's got the old man shakes. Yeah, he's pretty frail, no doubt about it. Bobby's brother says, Dave, that guy was the original actor from the original film. The original actor from the original film. Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. Even better, as if he comes from the 1950s to 1978 to more of them. Yeah, it kind of feels that way. That's right. The actor, not the director, the actor. I always think it's the director. That's right. The actor, the original actor. Now, I don't think it's supposed to be the same guy, obviously. Although that's a cool way to look at it, Bobby. That's a cool way to look, or Bobby's brother, I should say. You're not Bobby, you're Bobby's brother. You're Paul. No, I don't know. That's a cool way to look at it. And, you know, from a certain point of view, maybe you can look at it that way, right? But yeah, no, it's cool, man. Like it is, it's a cool cameo. And I love the fact that they turn around the corner and it's so eerie. Like, am I crazy? I don't think I'm crazy to think that. It's just from the beginning of that movie right to the end of that movie, the entire picture has just an eeriness. Now, to be fair, a lot of 70s horror movies did. There was a strong focus in 70s horror film. And look, a lot of this has to do with how films were cut back then, horror films. Theater of the mind plays a big role in those old films. The film stock, right? The grain. There's a real strong aesthetic, and we can't pretend that that's not important. Pacing, again, how the film is cut. Nowadays, a lot of things are very quick cuts, fast cuts. They don't linger on shots. They don't take their time to make the audience feel something. That's one of the things that we tried to do very much with Billy Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, right? Take your time with shots. I mean, obviously you have to be mindful of whether it's affecting the pacing of a film, but I love horror movies that take their time. You know what I mean? You're not jumping around because, taking your time, really helps to build atmosphere and to build mood and to create that tension and that eeriness. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers just does it tremendously. Don't Look Now does it too. I mean, it absolutely does it, but there's something about Invasion that is just fucking bloody eerie as hell. Huge ass, Hugh Jass. Well, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, just because you have a gigantic ass. From the Rap article, in the grand ambition of Crystal Lake, each season would be a deconstruction of the first 4 Paramount movies. Thoughts? Love it. No, look, I was going to do a show on this, and then I decided not to. The Friday the 13th news, because I really have said all I've had to say about what I think they need to do, what I was hoping they were going to do. So that's why I didn't jump on and talk about the Rap article from the other day. But since you asked about it, I'll give you sort of the cliff notes. No, look, I don't know if that would have been the right thing to do, but what I liked about the direction they were going, and like I've been a huge proponent of, is putting more meat on the bone. What that looks like and how that's fine-tuned, I don't know. But I have been a huge proponent, as you know, of it can't just be kids at a camp getting killed by Jason. I know that is what the 1980s delivered, but it's not the 1980s anymore. It's 2024. And that is very much a product of its time. And I've said to Friday fans, and they probably roll their eyes at me, but fair enough. If you want Jason back in a limited fashion, then hope you just get Jason killing kids at a camp. But you're not going to get Jason killing kids at a camp just that, like no real story. Like there's a little bit of a story, obviously, but no real story. It's just teens, tits, and blood. And Jason, okay, but you can maybe get one movie out of that, but you're not going to get a series out of that, right? That's going to fall by the wayside really, really hard. And don't talk to me about Terrifier. Watch my other shows on this. I've talked about why Terrifier is not the same thing. So I am a huge proponent of putting more meat on the bone. And especially if you're going to do a television series, right? If you're going to do a television series of 8 to 10 episodes that are 45 minutes long each, you have to have more meat on the bone. You have to have characters that, have arcs and that they're developed. And you have to. You also have to deliver the goods, the blood and the Jason stuff and the kills. You have to deliver that too. But you can't have 9 hours of just that. There has to be more meat on the bone. And so I've been a huge proponent of that. And I've tweeted about it. I've talked about it on Mcrae Lives here, so you can go back and watch those shows. They're from, a few weeks ago. They're not that long ago. And so hopefully that is what we're going to get. And with Brian Fuller on board and with A24 on board, it looked like that is what we were going to get. Well, Brian Fuller backed out or he was fired. Who knows what happened with him? There are also sexual allegations put forth against Brian Fuller from last year. Now, nothing seems to have come of that yet. Could that have been part of the reason why he has backed out or was let go or whatever the case is? Possibly. It's possible that A24 wanted to distance themselves from any sort of situation that may come up like that. It's possible. You know, I heard that he's also become attached to projects and left them before. So this seems to be kind of a Brian Fuller thing. So I don't know. All I know is he's out, A24 is doing a retooling, but with A24 on board, you know it's not just going to be teens, tits, and blood. I mean, and nor should it just be that. But I do understand why Friday fans are scared. They're afraid because they don't want it to become all cerebral and all philosophical and like Hereditary meets, you know, Midsommar, or, you know, it's like Halloween Ends. You know, they become avant-garde for the sake of being avant-garde and shit hits the fan. And now people, you know, I understand that. But there is a spectrum, ladies and gentlemen. There is teens, tits, and blood, right? And then there's real hardcore, cerebral, elevated horror. But there's an entire building in between with many different floors, right? There's nothing wrong with, you know, bringing Jason into the 21st century and telling a story that's rich with characters, rich with nuance, rich with great story that you can care about and glom onto, that is scary and interesting and exciting and can't wait to watch, you know, the next episode. And deliver on the blood and the guts and the Jason and the hockey mask and everything you know and love, and deliver on making you see Pamela Voorhees from a perspective you haven't seen before. All those Friday fans that can't stand Pamela, well, yeah, it's because you're thinking of Betsy Palmer in a cheesy 1980s horror movie. That's what you're thinking of. And she made minor appearances in Freddy vs. Jason and the Friday remake in 2009. That's all you have to go on. So when you think Pamela Voorhees, you just think of this dated 1980s. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And I guarantee you, there is way more meat on the bone for Pamela Voorhees than you think. There's so much, she could be a force to be reckoned with and something really cool that you build towards the eventual return of Jason, right? That's what it's about. If you want a TV show, it has to be constructed and built that way because you want to deliver 8 45-minute episodes. What the fuck are you going to be doing? Like, what are you going to be doing? You have to deliver story, character, right? You've got to do something, right? Or then just give me 25 minutes of, you know what I mean? Like, so anyways, you know, I hear that and I'm like, yeah, that's too bad. You know, I heard about the Kevin Williamson episode and that would have been really cool. You know, an hour-long chasing, who knows if it actually on paper sounds amazing, right? Who knows if, you know, if it would have been great. But I like that kind of thing. That's really cool, right? Maybe that hour-long episode was plopped in the middle to help make up for some of the more character-driven, you know, episodes, right? That's okay. That's cool, right? You know, it's not about turning Friday the 13th into something it isn't. It's about doing something with the franchise that puts it in a position that gives it the best probability of longevity. That's what it's about, right? And all these Friday fans that think that Jason's going to be back with a vengeance, just delivering a shallow, one-dimensional teens, tits, and blood Jason at a camp movie, if you think you're going to get 5 movies like that today, or 5 seasons in a television show like that today, good luck. Or as the, you know, evil guy in Taken says, good luck. You know, it's like, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to, you need more than just that today. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting article, kind of confirmed what we had suspected. And, you know, obviously nothing's happening with it at the moment. They are retooling, looking for a new showrunner. And, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Thank you, huge ass. Louis Feliciano. Louis? I'll call you Louis. Sends in $9.99, says, I was literally watching Friends when the news broke that Matthew Perry died. Has something like that ever happened to you, Dave? A celebrity passes away while you were watching their work. Thanks. No, that has not happened. But I would say that the last celebrity that passed away that really made me go, Oh shit. Wow. Would have been Robin Williams, I'd say. There's always people that pass away where you go, oh, wow, but Robin Williams was a shock. That was a surprise. The one that I'm dreading, obviously, is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is my favorite actor. He's been my favorite actor ever since I was like 4 years old. I used to go to school with a pair of pants I used to call my Han Solo pants. They were dark blue pants with a red stripe down the side. And I remember wearing them all the time to school. And, whether it was Star Wars or Indiana Jones, I'm a kid of the 80s. I'm a teenager of the 90s, but I'm a young boy of the 80s. And so, Harrison Ford was the man. I mean, he was he's one of the last great movie stars. We don't really have movie stars anymore. We have celebrities, but movie stars are not really made anymore. It's more about, because of social media, and the ease of access to celebrities now, and, the mystique is gone. They've been, actors are largely demystified now. And Harrison Ford was like the Clark Gable or Humphrey Bogart of his generation, and so he's one of the last great real movie stars. And he's my favorite actor. And he's 82 this year on July the 13th, the same age as my dad. My dad's actually a few months older, but my dad was born May 3rd, 42. Harrison Ford was born July 13th, 42. So he'll be 82 this year. And, he seems to be in good shape for someone who's 82, but he's looking old now. He's looking his age. And when he passes away, hopefully it won't be anytime soon, but when he passes away, that's going to be a tough day. That's going to be a tough day for me because I've always wanted to work with him. And obviously I never had the opportunity, or meet him as well. I'd love to meet him. But I also don't want to, I'm not big on meeting celebrities. I just never have been. I just not my thing. Like when I go to conventions, I never go to, really meet people. I go to look at the vendors and look at the knickknacks and the doodads and the t-shirts and just kind of soak up the atmosphere, right? The only celebrity I've ever met at a convention, it's two actually. I met Nick Castle, obviously, but it's Michael Myers. I was like, I got to meet Michael Myers, right? Being such a longtime fan. And then Malcolm McDowell. I met him at Fan Expo here in Toronto, which was cool. And I did that because he'd worked with Kubrick and I wanted to get a Clockwork Orange autograph and that kind of thing. But other than that, I've been to a lot of conventions and I never go up to me. And there's been people there that I think, oh, wow, they're here, but I never go up. It's just not my style and it's not my thing. I think having worked in the industry for 23 years and having seen a side of the industry that not a lot of people, excuse me, I had to sneeze there. Having seen a side of the industry that not a lot of people get to see, I sort of I know how the magic works and I know how I've seen behind the curtain in a lot of things. And I've, worked on a lot of shows and, whether it's commercials or trailers or cartoons or whatever it is. And I've met all sorts of people. And so I don't really get, not that I can't get starstruck. I mean, I absolutely can, of course. I mean, Jesus, if I walked into a room with Steven Spielberg, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, it's Spielberg. I just mean in a general sense is what I mean. It's just not really, I don't really get excited over it, I guess, because again, I know how the sausage is made, and I know kind of a lot about how, the business works and it's just not really kind of my thing. I don't really want to be that guy either, and I'm not knocking anybody who is. I'm just talking about me. I'm just talking about me, my own little thing. And so for me to meet people, it's not quite a big deal. Like it depends on who it is, right? Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg. I mean, but they're iconic. But if I was to run into Jack Black or something like that, right? You know what I mean? You know, or you know, Martin Short, who's a legend, you know, himself. But like, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know. I guess it's just, and I'm not sitting here saying that I've had that level of success. Obviously, I have not had that level of success, but I work in the business. And so I see behind the curtain every day. You know, I'm always talking with my agents, and I'm talking with producers and casting directors. And so, you know, again, predominantly in the voiceover world, but still in the entertainment business. And, you know, I've worked with people that have worked with Martin Short and all sorts of people. And so, I think there's just a level of sort of disconnect I have with it a little bit. And I think it's the same, but I think that's the same for anybody who works in the, you know, in a certain industry, right? Like, I think if you work in a certain industry and if you have a certain level of success in a certain industry, then there's a certain knowledge you have and a certain mystique that doesn't exist to the average person, right? Like, if you're just a movie fan and you just work a 9-to-5 job and you're taking care of your kids and you're going to T-ball and whatever, then it's there's still like this thing about it, right? But if you have a little bit of a window into it and you're working in it and you're dealing with it, it's not quite as magical as say it would be if I didn't work in the business, right? If I didn't work in the business and I just worked a 9-to-5, good, hard working job, you know, then yeah, I'd probably be like, holy fuck, all the time. But, you know, it's an interesting experience. It's an interesting experience. But yeah, look, I mean, if Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg were to enter a room that I was in, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, it's fucking Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? It's fucking Harrison Ford. You know, I mean, Jesus Christ, can make a grown man cry. But no, I've never been watching something and then had them pass or something. No, but that's pretty cool, man. I mean, that's awful, but I mean, that's you know, it's cool in that creepy kind of way. Lee the Machine Bowers, ladies and gentlemen, sends in a member chat. Thank you so much, Lee. I really appreciate this, buddy. Been a level number 2 member for 10 months. Hey, Dave, how are you, my friend? I'm doing okay. I'm okay. I got rear-ended 2 days ago. Oh no, I hope you're okay, man. The jerk hit my truck and took off. Fuck. I chased after them, but I stopped because I don't know if they're carrying a weapon, but I'm okay though. Yeah, dude, that's the best thing to do it. Or that's the best thing to do, especially in the States. And I say this, you know, with all due respect to my American brothers and sisters, but when you're in the States, you got to be really careful. That's something you don't have to worry about too much up here. Not that there isn't gun violence up here. There's gun violence up here. You know, we have guns. You can get guns up here. But there's a lot more there's a lot more guns in the US, and there's a lot more gun crime in the US. And so you just don't know. I mean, like, there's been so many examples of people just, yeah, like, you don't know if he's unhinged or if he's on something. You could go after him for all the right reasons, and he just turns around and takes out a gun and blows your head out. Like, fuck, man, you got to be so careful, especially in the States. Like, here, you could probably chase after the guy, and there's probably like a 95% chance he doesn't have a gun in his car. You know what I mean? Maybe even higher than that, you know, but down there, and depending on the state you're in too, woo, Texas, woo, I ain't going after anybody in Texas, man. No way. No way. Well, I hope you're okay, buddy. I hope you're okay. Gavin Glass sends a $9.99. Thanks, buddy. He says, hey, Dave, I'm out of Buffalo, New York. Hey, Buffalo. I got a Buffalo Bills hat on here, and my favorite hockey team is the Buffalo Sabres. And have some original screenplays I have written that I would like your opinion on. Would you be interested in reading? No. Unfortunately, Gavin, I say this with all due respect. I think that's awesome that you've done that. I think that's really cool. But unfortunately, I don't read people's screenplays. That's not me trying to be a pretentious, condescending dick. It's just because if I start doing that, then the floodgates are going to open. And I know that because about 6 or 7 years ago, I had agreed to do that. When I first started up my channel in this manner, I had agreed to it. and I got a script, and then people started sending them to me. And my Facebook DMs were, I kid you not, there was probably, let's say there were 10 messages, at least 4 or 5 of them were people sending me their scripts or asking if to send the script. So unfortunately, the answer is no. It's not personal. It's just because I don't want the floodgates to open, because I just don't have the time. I'm a very, very busy guy. I'm, a professional voice actor, and that's my day-to-day job that I do every day. I'm in post-production on a major film right now. I mean, not a major film in terms of theaters, but it's a lot of work is what I'm saying. It's a big project that I'm doing, and I'm working on my own scripts and things like that. And so unfortunately, those are things I always say no to, just simply because I want to set realistic expectations. The last thing I want to do is say yes, and then I just don't have the time. And then you're messaging me saying, hey, dude, have you read, my script yet? And I'm like, oh, fuck, no, I haven't. It's been like 3 months, and you're waiting like, fuck, I want to, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I have to put myself first and the projects I'm working on first. And so unfortunately, the answer is no. But I think it's great that you're doing that. And I think that's really, really, really cool. And I wish you the best of luck with it, man. I really, really do. And there's lots of there's screenwriting competitions and all that kind of stuff that you could submit your, screenplay to and win prizes. Or I know there's a lot of, I think there's even competitions where you can get your screenplay, if it wins, it can be turned into something, or I don't know. There's lots of shit out there to explore, but yeah, no, the answer is no. But I appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you. Josh McKenna, a member for 8 months, sends in a member chat, says, one time when I was in college, a girl who I went to class with got an eerie, creepy feeling about some guy on campus, and she asked me to walk with her to her next class, and I did. Ooh. That's creepy. That sounds like an opening scene of a movie, of a horror movie or something. That's pretty creepy there, Josh. What was the end result of that? Did anything happen, or what ended up happening? I'd be very curious to know. Very curious to know. Justin Leon sends another $5. Thanks, buddy. He says, oh shit, just saw your hat. Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. I'm not a huge football guy. I'm more of a hockey guy. What a shock. I'm Canadian. But the Buffalo Bills, if I had to pick a NFL team that would be my favorite, it would be the Buffalo Bills. And I decided on that years ago when Jim Kelly was their quarterback. But then they lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and I kind of started to like the Detroit Lions for a bit. But now I've kind of, swung back to the Buffalo Bills, because now there's at least hope that maybe they can get it going again. But the Buffalo Sabres, have been my favorite hockey team forever. Since Tom Barrasso was on the Buffalo Sabres, and that's going back to the mid 80s. So it's been a long time. I've been a diehard, true and true Buffalo Sabres fan for, probably 40 years. And I'm still waiting on the Stanley Cup. And they haven't made the playoffs in 11 years. Fuck. Oliver Mercer sends in a very generous super chat of 20 pounds. Thanks, Oliver. And says, hey, Dave, regarding crowdfunding, I have been told within a private meeting that it's not a good angle to raise money by Indiegogo because it's illegal too. Plus, I could get cease and desist, I think is what you mean, and arrests. Were you afraid of that with Billy? I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So it is absolutely not illegal to raise money on Indiegogo. I don't know who told you that, but it is absolutely 100% legal to raise money on Indiegogo for a variety of projects, not just film projects, but a variety of projects. Now, when it comes to films, when it comes to fan films specifically, fan films are legal. They fall under fair use doctrine. They are legal to make. Now, what a fan film cannot do is make money from the movie. So every bit of money that is raised for the making of the movie has to go into the making of that movie, right? The producers, which are myself and Bruce, cannot take any money. We can't, go through the budget and go, okay, we'll cut $5,000 for you. We'll cut $5,000 for you. No, we can't do that. We are legally not allowed to do that. We also have an entertainment lawyer on our team. And this has all been run through him and confirmed. Now, different rules may apply. There might be a bit of a difference between, the UK and Canada and the US, but overall, they're very similar in terms of that regard. So It's Me Billy Chapter 1 and 2 cannot seek distribution. Now, they're professional movies. They absolutely have the production value and the quality with both picture and sound to play on a Netflix or an Amazon or a Hulu or whatever. Absolutely. But they legally can't because we do not own the intellectual property. So we can't seek distribution. We can't, seek network to play it on the. We can't do that. The film must be released for free and for free only for the world, whether that's YouTube and Vimeo, wherever. Has to be that way. We as producers cannot make money from the movie. Now, depending on the rights holders, they may have budget caps, right? Rights holders might come forward and say, okay, you can raise $80,000 and only $80,000, or you can raise $50,000, only $50,000, or whatever the case is. Generally speaking, if you're not raising millions of dollars, then there's no issue, right? There's no issue. Once you start raising production budgets of Hollywood films, that's where your people are going to look at you and go, whoa, hang on a second here, right? But it depends, right? So what we are doing in terms of the fan film is not illegal as long as we're not making money from it. So I can't sell Blu-rays and pocket the money. If I sell Blu-rays, it has to go into, it has to be reinvested into the project. So that means just, either paying for shipping of other stuff or whatever the case is, right? And I can tell you 100% that Bruce and I, as the producers, as the spearheaders of the projects of both, have literally made zero. I don't mean, we kind of took, no. I mean, literally nothing. So the 2 weeks that Bruce and I took off to make Chapter 1 and 2, we weren't making anything, right? We as producers made nothing. So we can hire the crew, we can pay them, we can, raise money to make the movie, but we cannot make money from the movie. So the actors are not going to make residuals. It's a flat rate based on the, whatever the case is, right? So a daily, it was a union shoot, so we have to follow union guidelines. But yeah, so there's nothing illegal about it in terms of, there's certainly nothing illegal about raising money on Indiegogo for anything original. And there's nothing illegal about raising money for a fan film, as long as you are not profiting from the fan film. And this is something I forgot to mention, which is very important. You are not misleading your audience into thinking that it is the real thing. Now, when I say real thing, I mean that it is canon, that it is endorsed by the official rights holders, right? Even though the production value is totally pro, we cannot pretend or mislead or false advertise to you or to the audience or to the general public that this is an actual canon sequel to, no, we can't do that. Now, there's people that have come forward and said, yeah, but it's so professional that it feels like that anyway. That's great. That's great. If you want to make that your head canon, and that's cool, but we can't market it. Trailers, it must say It's Me Billy, a Black Christmas fan film, right? We must, we cannot hide that fact, right? We cannot do that. We're not allowed to mislead the audience. So as long as you are playing nice, you're playing fair. Now, that doesn't mean that rights holders to something. Some rights holders are more lenient than others, right? We know that Malika Cod and Trancas International and the rights holders to Halloween are very strict and very persnickety. And they have every right to be, but it's a tough go with them. But then the rights holders of Friday the 13th are a little more, yeah, that's pretty good. I get, they see the value in it. They see that it keeps their beloved properties in the pop culture consciousness. They see that there's value in these fan films, even the fan films that look like they're shot in your backyard, right? And they don't really care about those. It's only the fan films that look like Hollywood films, which ours tend to do. And so there's always that potential that somebody might be like, but as long as you're playing by the rules, and you're not profiting, but it's another reason why I don't want to live in the world of fan films for the rest of my life, and why Billy 2 will be as professional as it is. It's as I keep saying, it's a real movie, but it's still a fan film. So I want to move on to original work now, so I can make money, get paid to make a movie, and seek distribution, right? So yeah, there's nothing illegal about Indiegogo at all. And certainly not if you're raising funds for an original piece. It's perfectly fine. Lewis sends in $4.99. Thanks, buddy. Says, Dave, been a big fan for over 5 years now. Very cool. I discovered you in your Bruce Lee fans relax video. Oh my God. From Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 2019. Dude, I remember that. Yes, I remember that. Holy shit. I should start doing more random shit like that. That's really cool, man. Well, thanks for being here, and thanks for sending in those super chats. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Huge ass sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. Says, if the new Halloween series is connected to the 78 film, what part of 78 would you want to explore? What gaps in 78 could be filled or reimagined? I don't think there's anything that needs to be explored. And I've said this many times that I think it's time to leave 1978 alone. Halloween, the original Halloween alone. Now, there's a good chance that if they do a prequel, it's gonna, I am totally against the demystification, if that's even a word. I am totally against the demystification of the Michael Myers character, of the Dr. Loomis character, and anything that happened in Smith's Grove between 1963 and 1978. Everything that we need to know that happened during that time was told to us in Halloween. I don't need to see Michael as a young boy, and I don't need to see any of that. So, no, but that's me. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch the series if that's what they decide to do, because maybe they'll do it right. I don't know. But listen, if you want the honest truth, and I've said this many times, I think you just leave it alone. Just leave it alone for a while. Don't make anything. But what gaps are there in 78? Well, are there gaps in 78? Yes, but they are intentional gaps. So they're not gaps. They're stuff that is not needed because of the way the film is written, because it's more of a theater of the mind piece. We have all the information we need, and then it works better for us as an audience to then imagine those little things that we're not seeing, like I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. Well, those 8 years and 7 years, that 15 years, for some fans, well, maybe they think, I want to see all that, but we don't. That's the whole point. So it's not a gap. It's intentionally left ambiguous, because the ambiguity of it allows the fan to fill it in their own mind. And there's nothing that a studio could show you that could be any better than what you could imagine. Now, that doesn't mean that sometimes when a studio does show something, it's also just as cool and you agree with it, but there's also that risk that they could show you that 15-year gap and it could be dog shit. And you could watch and be like, holy fuck, that first season of Haddonfield was dog shit. And then where are we? Right? So why do it at all? Right? We don't need to see that. So I get what you're saying, but I don't think there's anything. And I certainly don't need to see the Loomis early years. I don't need to see him before Michael. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. So I don't think there's any gaps. Every little bit of information we needed to know about Michael Myers and his past and his relationship with Dr. Loomis is in that first movie. It's in that speech. It's in that speech. You know, I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. You know, what's another thing he says? He says, there's a few other things, but there's, I watched him sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night, inhumanly pain. Like all these little rhythmic, pieces of exposition dialogue that Dr. Loomis is sprouting. If you really think about it, if you actually think about it, it's all there. That's all we need to know. We have enough information from that we can start piecing together what it was probably like. We don't need to see it. The more we see of Myers, especially in that timeline, the more, I don't care if he's 6 or 21, he's demystified. We don't need to demystify him any further than he already is. So, no, I don't think there's anything personally. All right. Have I got all the super chats? Let me just see here. I just want to make sure I've got everything. What's happening here? Huge ass. Looked like it was the last one. I believe so. Okay. What's my time here? We got a little time. We got a little bit of time. Movie fan says, you gotta be like John Carpenter and get paid. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Look, I mean, these 2 fan films that we've done, and we've done them professionally because obviously we want to pay honor to the original Black Christmas and showcase what we can do with our filmmaking skills. But we also want to be able to use them as portfolio pieces. And if they are done professional through and through, top to bottom, then we can. If they're done, like we're in our backyard with our camcorder, then we're not throwing that in our portfolio. I mean, it's time at our age with our connections to be able to showcase what we can do. And we've enjoyed the hell out of it. It's been a lot of fun, and we've done something really special for Black Christmas, and who better to do it than 2 filmmakers from Canada, because it's a Canadian movie, right? Shot in Toronto. We're from Toronto. But at the end of the day, if we want to have a career as filmmakers and get paid to make movies, then we have to start, shifting away, utilizing our portfolio now, but shifting away to original projects. And we have a lot of original projects that we would like to dive into. And you guys know about some of them that, that I've talked about. So, would I like to get paid to make a movie? Yeah. I'm not making fucking movies for free. I don't do voiceover for free, and I'm certainly not going to get hired to make a movie for free. You know what I mean? Of course not. Now, I don't mean that, I'm in a position where I can demand a high salary. I just mean that yes, I want to, I'm 45 years old now. So there are filmmakers that are 25 years old that are making Hollywood movies and getting them theatrically released in major studio, with major studio distribution, right? So, I want to, which is totally cool and totally fine. I mean, my path in the entertainment industry is, has been a bit different, but I look at my life now and I'm approaching middle age, and I think, I really want to start making a go at it now. So I have had a few people ask, Billy 3? No, because the amount of time and effort and work, like these are not just fan films, guys. These are real low budget indie shorts, right? Like they're real films. And so the amount of time and effort and work that it takes to make this shit look like this, with crew and actors and unions and money and all the work that goes into making a movie, I'm no longer going to do that for free. I mean, I don't care about shooting something small on my phone in my backyard or something where I'm just farting around. But if I'm going to go through what I went through on these 2 movies again, well, no, I want to be able to, get paid. I want to get paid, and that way I can also, seek distribution. which is great, and play festivals, and maybe it'll wind up on fucking Hulu or you know, Prime or something. Who knows, right? But yeah, that's the goal, and the first Billy opened some doors for us in that regard. I think, you know, again, I can't say specifically who it was or who it was with, because that door is still open. But I can say that it was with a studio that you would know. And one of the things they were so impressed by with the Billy film was how we made a $64,000 movie look like a $6 million movie. Like, that was one of the things they were impressed by. There were other things too, but they were like, this looks like Jesus Christ, you know? And so, there's value in all the hard work and the effort that we've put into these films. And it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, and we love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, we love it. I wouldn't rather be doing anything. If I'm going to do something for free, you know, building that up and making that's definitely something that at least I enjoy doing. But at 45 years old, now it's time to, you know, I have some experience under my belt now, and I want to start, you know, that doesn't mean that my next project is going to be like this major $20 million movie. I don't mean that. I just mean now I'm ready to start, seeking funding for, you know, original projects, that I can, you know, now start to set my eyes on. And Bruce and I, you know, we're not always going to be directing together as well, right? Because I have stuff that I want to direct on my own that he might come on board as a producer. He has things he wants to direct on his own that I might just come on board as a producer. So there's that kind of thing too, right? So not everything will be a Bruce and Dave co-directed kind of thing. There are things that I want to do on my own as well, which is great too, right? It's also good to have that solo experience too. So, yeah, so it's pretty crazy, but I'm looking forward to the next adventure. I am, looking forward to getting Billy 2 out there and then moving on to the next adventure. And by the way, that doesn't mean that I will not be Freddy Krueger in a Dylan's New Nightmare 2. I just mean in terms of spearheading another fan film, it's just too much. It's too much work. Like we take this shit very seriously, you know, and the amount of work and time and money that goes into it, it's just, the next time I do that, yeah, it's, you know, I gotta be paid. You know what I mean? Oliver Mercer sends in 10 pounds. Thanks, Oliver. Says, I was told this by a big producer regarding the copyright issue. However, it was slightly odd by his delivery. Regarding my fan film, would you count it good route to take with IGG, Dave? Need advice. Well, I don't know who this producer was, and I don't know what he's produced or what his knowledge of it is. Look, at any given time, a rights holder can come forward and say, no, we don't want you to do that. But I also don't know how much information you provided to him or her. On, like, again, at face value, okay, on paper, fan films can be a very tricky thing because most fan films are amateur. They look and sound like fan films. Then you get fan films like Never Hike Alone and, you know, the Billy films. You know, you watch them, you're like, this is not, like, this just looks like something I'd see on Prime. You know, this looks like a professional, because they are. And so that's a bit of a trickier territory, okay? But as long as you're not making profit, again, I don't know what the rules are in your country either. Okay. But for us, and we've consulted with our entertainment lawyer, as long as we are not making money from it, we can raise money to make the movie, but we can't make money from the movie, like I said. So this big time producer, whoever it is you're talking about, is probably erring on the side of caution. They are not wrong with what they're talking about in terms of it's a bit tricky. You got to be careful. You know, there's legalities. They're absolutely correct in that. But depending on what the rules and regulations are in your country, I don't know what the fair use doctrine is for you, but you do have to be careful. You have to be careful. And then, you have to be able to show that you're also not making money from it either. Right. And that's why there's disclaimers at the beginning of or at the end, of fan films and things like that. Like you can't be hiding it. So, and it depends on how much you raise, right? You raise $10 million. Yeah, you're probably going to have a problem. You raise $50,000. Probably not. You know what I mean? And it depends on the rights holders. Some rights holders are persnickety, Malachakad and Trancas. Some rights holders, not. Black Christmas and Friday the 13th. They you know what I mean? So it's just, without knowing who you're talking to, I can just give general advice, and Oliver, I don't know what your film is. I don't know how much you're looking to raise. I don't know how successful you'll be. You're only as successful as your reach. So you can't just create an Indiegogo campaign and let it sit there and expect people to find it. I was able to raise, between the two Billy films, we were able to raise about 220,000 Canadian dollars between the two films. But that's also because I have a reach, right? I have a platform with nearly 30,000 subscribers, and, between my social media across Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, it's close to 15,000. And so I have a bit of a reach. And so, and there's trust that's built, right? You have to build trust with your community, and you have to always be in contact with them. And there's so much that goes into crowdfunding, Oliver, that is just beyond making a campaign look pretty. People have to know you. You have to have a great campaign. Yes, it's got to look great. You have to have a great campaign video that welcomes your, backers. But you don't just create that, put it up, post it a couple of times and let it sit there. You also have to have a proof of concept as well, right? I mean, we had for Billy Chapter 1, we had a terrific Indiegogo teaser for Chapter 1, right? It was nothing that appeared in the movie, but we showcased with our limited budget what we could do. And that teaser did really well. It got so many people excited, and we reached our budget. And then, of course, Billy Chapter 1 is the example. And people saw what we were able to do with Chapter 1. So they're like, oh my God, take my money. And yes, of course, Olivia was on board at the time, and that definitely played a role. But when the unfortunate news came down the pipe that she had to back out because of health, nobody refunded. To my shock and surprise, and nobody did. I got messages from people saying, listen, it sucks that she's not going to be in it. Yes, that does suck, but we believe in you. We see what you could do. She wasn't in the first one. You know what I mean? And we see what you guys are capable with. We want to see this through to the end. We want to see how this ends. Lynn is still in it. Victoria is in it, so, we want to see how this ends. And that was amazing, right? But we were successful because of trust and because of reach and because of proof of concept being the first chapter, right? And so without those things, it can be very difficult. I'm just giving you want my advice? I'm giving you a dose of, reality. I don't know. I mean, I don't believe you have your own YouTube channel. I don't know how far your reach is online. I don't know what your concept is. I don't know anything. So just be prepared to have realistic expectations for how much you're asked for. And do you know how much you need? Have you done a budget breakdown? Have you cross-referenced all the costs? Again, I say this to people who are looking to start an Indiegogo campaign. You can't just think of an arbitrary number and say to yourself, okay, well, I think that's what we're going to need. When we asked for 60,000 Canadian dollars on Chapter 1, that is because we did a budget breakdown of how much are the actors getting paid, how much is production insurance, how much is catering and craft services, and how much is, lighting and grip and camera, and how much is this, and how much is that, and how much is this, and how much is that, and how much is, and so we get a ballpark of how much it's going to be, and that's what we ask for. And the same thing came with, with Chapter 2. Okay, how much is this going to cost? It's a union shoot now. How much are the union fees? Everybody's salary goes up. They would have gone up anyway because it's a sequel, but now it's a union shoot. So now they've gone up substantially. And flights and hotels and this and that. All we look into all of that before we launch the campaign, right? Because we need to have at least a ballpark. Maybe we don't have what are called actuals, and actuals are like actual, but we have ballparks. So it's going to be this, it's going to be this. So we know what. So I don't know how big your film's going to be. I don't know what you're planning to do. But you can't just sit there and go, well, I think it's going to cost 20 grand and ask for 20 grand, because then you're either going to have way too much, which may not be a bad thing, because then you can put it towards perks or put it towards the movie. But what if you're 50 grand short? Oh, fuck. Right? You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm speaking, you want my advice. That's, you know, it's hard to give advice without knowing sort of the details, but the producer is probably just looking out for your best interest, because of your inexperience and because you've never done this before and you're not a filmmaker. So they're probably thinking, you know, you might make those green mistakes. And so, but I would say that, you know, if you want to do something small, don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, do something small. Ask for $500. You know, maybe ask for something where you can, you know, you can do like a short little horror movie in your house or something with your best friend or something. And maybe you need $500, or maybe you need $1,000, you know, to cover the cost of, you know, food over 2 days and maybe, you know, the rental of a camera or something. You know what I mean? Like, keep it really realistic. You know, just do not bite off more than you can chew. Do not try to do what we've done. Because it just, you know, for somebody who's never done it, and who's not connected to the right people, it's going to be very difficult for you. All right, what's the time? We'll go another 7 minutes or so. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, have you ever had a feeling that you knew what somebody was going to tell you before they spoke? I did when I woke up on March 4th, 1990, when my dad told me college hoops player Hank Gathers died. I've never heard of Hank Gathers. But wow, fascinating. No, I've never had that, Rob. I've never had that happen to me, but that's interesting. Fascinating indeed. Fascinating indeed. Michael Myers says, Dave, what are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge? Oh, Michael Myers, you know what my thoughts are. It's one of the great sequels of all time. Well, it's one of the great Elm Street sequels. It's my favorite Elm Street sequel. I like it over Dream Warriors. It's got the best, darkest Freddy, the scariest Freddy, the best makeup. And I'm not a bandwagoner. I've liked Elm Street 2 since 1985. So I would say that, I would say that it's, it's great. I understand that it breaks canon a little bit I understand the rules. I get it. But I think it's just such a dark, eerie, and scary Freddy. And it has the best opening dream sequence in the entire franchise, period, with the bus. It's just amazing. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let me see here. I just want to make sure I've got all the super chats and I'm not missing any, ladies and germs. It looks like I have got them. Oh, yes, it does. Okay, good. All right. Geeked Out Turtle Fan says, Dave, we can't forget about Sutherland being an outbreak. Yes, he was. With one hell of a cast. Hoffman, Spacey, Gooding Jr., Freeman, Dempsey, and Russo. What a lineup. Absolutely agree. Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Outbreak I haven't seen in a while, but that was a great film. That was a great film. Wayne Gotke says, Dave, don't you think when Elm Street returns, they could say that Nancy is still alive by saying her funeral in Elm Street 3 was actually something Neil was just dreaming? Yeah, they could, or they could just pretend that Elm Street 3 doesn't exist and do a direct sequel to Elm Street, or do what Cecil Laird is writing right now, which is, Dylan's New Nightmare. Cecil is the sequel. I can tell you the sequel to Dylan's New Nightmare will be, he's writing a feature because it's easier to do it all at once than another. Like Cecil's the same, he said the same thing. He says, the amount of work that goes into these fan films, and there's a lot, he doesn't want to be tied up for the next 10 years doing, 5 20-minute fan films. So like what Vincent DeSanti did with Never Hike Alone 2, he combined them all into a feature. So I believe that's what Cecil is going to do as well. There's potentially interesting things happening with Dylan's New Nightmare in the coming weeks and months. I can't say anything beyond that, but there is definitely some interesting potentially interesting things that may be happening that I'm quite excited about, actually, to be honest with you. All right. 4 more minutes, folks. 4 more minutes to go in the show. And then we will call it a evening. Call it a evening. It's been a good show, though. It's been a good show. Oliver says, I've done the overall breakdown for money and a lot of elements by its designs. However, it's so valuable by your input. Honestly, it's fantastic advice. I'll take some shorts first. Yeah, no, Oliver, I mean, don't bite off more than you can chew, right? Because, and like I've said to anybody who's wanting to start an Indiegogo campaign, there's a lot of work that goes into creating an Indiegogo campaign, but the real work begins when you launch the Indiegogo campaign. Too many people think that they can just create an Indiegogo campaign, make a couple social media posts, and it'll raise the money by itself. No, not at all. You need to be a little annoying. Look at what I did when we were raising money for Chapter 2. I was doing so many, but again, I have a bit of a reach, right? So, but it still was hard work. I mean, you guys were here. You remember it. Look at all the live shows I was doing, the crowdfunding I was doing, hyping everybody up, and we did it. It's a lot of work. I did, I think it was 22 live streams dedicated specifically to the crowdfunding. I mean, I had like a topic at the beginning, but it was dedicated to that. And I calculated it. I did. It was over 60 hours. Over 60 hours. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And had I not done that, I don't think we would have reached our goal. And so you've got to be in people's faces. You've got to be, but it's a balance, right? You don't want to be annoying, but you got to be there, out of sight, out of mind. And that goes to anybody who's wanting to start an Indiegogo campaign to raise money for a film. I know you may want to skip the line and just kind of, well, it must be easy. Dave raised, $220,000. I mean, it's not easy. There's reasons why we were able to do it, right? I have a reach. We got the first movie. People see the quality of the first movie. They go, oh my God, I want to see how that ends. Olivia obviously played a huge role. Lynn played a huge role. She's still in the movie. She's great in the film, by the way. You're going to love her. And so, there's reasons, but the real work begins when the campaign is launched. That's when the real work begins. Too many people launch the campaign and just sit on their asses thinking that it's just going to somehow make money. Or they make a social media post once every 2 weeks. It's like, no, man, it's not how it works. Justin Leon sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. Says, give us a Christopher Walken impression saying a Quint line from Jaws. Oh, God. Hoopa. Hello. My shoes are untied. Come on. I'm trying to think of a line that he says. Hello. I think I'll drink to your leg. I'm going to drink to your leg. Yeah. There you go, Justin. There you go. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on episode 267 of Mcrae Live. I want to thank, of course, all the super chats that came in. I really appreciate it. Hey, reminder to my level number 2 members, this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, our next episode of One Good Scare, the Halloween only show, is happening this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and I've made it a watch along. We're going to be watching Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, but it's exclusive to my level number 2 members only. So if you want to get in on that, hit that join button and join level number 2. Also to my members, to all my members, the member-only Q&A is coming up soon as well. So thank you to my members. You guys are amazing. Thank you, of course, to my moderators. You guys are amazing. And thank you for hanging out. And thanks for the super chats as well. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with me over the last hour. And hey, listen, if you're watching, or last hour and a half, if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today. And also on Donald Sutherland. What's your favorite Donald Sutherland movie? And have you watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers or Don't Look Now? Let me know. Let me know. I'd love to know in the comment section below. Have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. And I will talk to you all very soon. Alrighty. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you soon. Cheers.